if you have purpose but no profit, you have a hobby, right? So I want to show you guys a little bit about my journey and some of the things that I get to do on a day-to-day basis. My journey started out several years ago. Was in a situation where I had to leave with my 2 infants, who are not twins, and decide what was going to be next for my life. So long story short, I picked up a job for higher education, but I didn't get the job because of my experience. I got the job because I was a musician. I've been a musician since I was 8 years old, went to college for music, and that's what solidified that job for me. That's going to be important in just a little bit. So I got that job in higher education. I became an academic advisor. Because I love what I did so much and that passion was there, I was able to help not just traditional college students, which is your 18 to 24, but especially those who were adults that were going for their college education. And as I continued to progress in my career, there was somebody who was deployed often and was going for their bachelor's degree. Before I became their academic advisor, they had this laundry list of classes that they had to finish before they could graduate. And of course, if you're an adult and you're in college taking classes, when you see you have 9 or 11 classes, you just want to give up, right? So because of my purpose and my passion, once this student came to me, I was able to take another look at all of their classes, take into consideration their work experience, and they went from about 7 classes to 2. Again, that's my passion, that's my purpose. I want to see people win. I want to encourage you to win. So not only did I sign this person's degree plan for graduation, I also attended their graduation, and within a year, I married that person. So my purpose was to marry that passion. My purpose and my passion, there's a reason that I do what I do. But moving forward in that, as I continue to progress in my career, became the director of academic advising at a small college. And I knew when I was going in, this job was bigger than what I was prepared for. I was the least qualified and I was the youngest. I was going up against people that had been in the field for 30 years. I've been in the field for just 5 years. Again, purpose and encouragement. So for every person that came into my office that would say, I don't know how I'm going to do this. I don't see the path in front of me. I dug in and I pulled them up through, and every single time I watched them cross that stage at graduation. So my purpose was poured into theirs so that they could go forth and be great. Time came to move on from that position, and so I had the opportunity to decide, what do I want to do? I'm a huge lover of Jesus. I talk to God all the time, and he talks to me back. I like to say I'm his favorite child. And as I was praying and trying to determine what was next, I remember praying a prayer and said, God, I just want to teach music. This is what I'm good at. This is what I love. I was comfortable with just teaching a few students at my home, which turned into 23 students and an 11-person waiting list within a year. So I went back to prayer, and I said, God, what do we do next? Do I hire somebody to come into my home? That's a little weird. Or do I get a small space so that I can share with that person, we can serve all of these people? Well, as I was looking for that small space, I ran into the same issue over and over, is that the spaces were sandwiched in between companies that had things going on during the day, and our noise would be distracting. And so I knew that it was God's purpose for me to teach music when I followed my realtor to another commercial building, a building I had forgotten about. And when we pulled into the parking lot, I just started crying. He said, are you okay? What's wrong? Are you overwhelmed? I said, no, this is the building that I took music lessons in when I was younger. Oh, wow. So when I tell you that God has a purpose for what we do, that's what we do. So I went from a solopreneur teaching 23 students with 11 person waiting list to a small business owner with 21 teachers and opening the doors. So what we were able to do from 2019 to now is serve over 1,000 children and adults in the Florida Panhandle. And so bring it up to current day, that's 1,000 over the last 5 years. We just hit our 5-year anniversary last Monday. Today we have over 300 students that we serve every single week coming into our building, and then also we have teachers that go into the community. But I wanted to take that a little bit further. Again, purpose, not just for me, but for those I love, and for those I serve. So, again, talking about purpose. My husband and I, we have children who are now adults, but going through elementary, middle school, and high school, our daughter struggled academically. She was diagnosed with dyslexia and testing anxiety, and by the 4th grade, she had failed every single test that was ever put in front of her. She passed all of her classwork, but the teachers couldn't understand why she was failing all of her tests. So my husband and I, we went to the schools, we had to stand on desks sometimes, and the teachers would listen to us. But by the time she received her documentation for her accommodations, her self-esteem had plummeted. Her confidence was non-existent. And I remember praying one night to God, I said, God, I need you to help me help her. And the very next day, he brought somebody into her classroom that worked with her. She got her very first A on a spelling test. That was that person's purpose. But what I needed to do as a mom was figure out, how do I bring my daughter back to the confidence that I saw before she recognized she was different, before she recognized that she couldn't do her multiplication tables like everybody else in the class. So I encouraged her to start music. First she started on piano and then clarinet, but because I played those 2 instruments, she didn't want to do that anymore because I had a little bit too much input, right? So homegirl picked up the trombone. I said, oh, you don't want me to help you for real. Okay, that's fine. So I saw what music did for her. Her confidence started to build. She began to get comfortable being around people, talking to them, talking about things that they just connected with on a fundamental level because they were all musicians. My daughter believed in herself. She learned to advocate for herself. She learned how to study. She learned how to pass classes and tests and X, Y, and Z. And I said, you know what? There's something about that. So because of her plan and her journey and the purpose that God had in her life, I then founded the Full Circle Foundation, which I look for kids who are lowly academically performing, and I put an instrument in their hands. We serve the entire Panhandle of Florida with that program. In the last 3 years, we've raised $25,000 with just private donations. That's no grants. That's not any corporations donating money. These are people believing in the mission, because when we're working with programs such as the Boys and Girls Clubs of the Emerald Coast, these kids who wouldn't even pay attention to you when you were talking to them because they didn't feel like they were worthy of eye contact, we put instruments in their hands, and they're getting things like Youth of the Year for their Boys and Girls Club program. They're learning how to advocate for themselves. They're learning peer-to-peer mentorship. That's the purpose that God has moved through me, my child, and to the other children in the community. And one of my shining moments for Warrior Gift Conservatory of Music, which is my flagship company, is that, people think that music lessons are for kids. They're not. I hate to break it to you. Our oldest student is 75 years old. He plays the saxophone. I taught him how to put the instrument together 5 years ago. He retired from IBM. He felt like he wasn't going to have the purpose that he once had, raising his family, being the provider. It's like, what do I do next? And so he learned how to play the saxophone, chirp, 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 chirp. And now he is actually improvising to his favorite saxophone artists like Candy Duffler. I remember the time that he nailed it. We looked at each other. I swear that man had tears in his eyes. Again, purpose is what God has put on the inside of me, that I am charged with putting that on the inside of others. So among so many other things that I do, those are my favorite companies that I own, which is Warrior Gift Conservatory of Music and the Full Circle Music Foundation. You have cards on your table. If you scan the QR code, you can go to my website, kind of see a little bit more of what I do, and if you have any questions, I am open.